Hello and welcome to Meet the Patient, brought to you by Life in a Day. As part of our commitment to enable people working in the healthcare sector to increase their understanding, empathy, and patient focus, in this series of interviews, we're asking people living with a condition or a disease to go beyond the clinical and share their personal stories that demonstrate the impact it has on their relationships, family, friendships, work, and their emotional well-being. Today, our focus is on lung cancer, and I'm delighted to introduce Cheryl Johnson. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
So, Cheryl, you and I met almost 2 years ago now when we were creating our Life in a Day lung cancer experience, and you shared your story of being diagnosed with and living with lung cancer. What do you think is the one thing people need to be most aware of when they think about living with lung cancer?
I suppose the impact that it can have on your body, but then it might not, if that makes sense. So I have a cough, but other than that, you wouldn't know. Oh, obviously my hair's gone at the moment, but you wouldn't have known that I had anything wrong with me. To look at, I look the same. I looked absolutely normal, like anybody in the street. Once you start treatment, then that's a different matter. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not a visible illness, and that's why it can be quite advanced before anyone is diagnosed or realise they have it, because you just wouldn't know.
Yeah. So let's talk about family. Do you mind sharing a story about the way living with lung cancer has impacted your family life?
Well, lots of things get put on hold. You I mean, I tend to live from scan to scan. I don't like to plan things in ahead, in advance. I don't want to book a holiday too far in advance. I don't want to commit to things too far in advance. And I'm actually probably more spontaneous and trying to be like, let's go for lunch. Let's go out for lunch and do things like that. I've got two grown-up sons. One lives at home, one doesn't. The one that's at home, bless him, he fusses around me lots. So I get lots of attention that way. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, I'm all in the moment and I can't think long term. I don't want to talk about next year, next this and stuff like that. And my husband, he's probably gone the absolute opposite. And he says, oh, in 5 years we'll do this. And I'm like, no. But I think that's his way of dealing with things. He's, in 10 years' time we're going to go and do this for our 35th wedding anniversary and all them kinds of craziness. So we've actually gone completely opposites. He's talking long term and I'm talking this week, next week maybe. But yeah, other than that, we plod along. I mean, there's the shell shock in the beginning with the diagnosis, and just over 2 years in, you have to try and live some sort of normal life.
And that's that whole thing about intimacy and cancer. A lot of people do talk about that in terms of it does change.
Yeah,
even just your body image as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy with, I'm 3 stone heavier than I was. I haven't got any hair, I haven't got any eyelashes, all that kind of stuff. I don't feel good. And I used to work at, I would always get my hair done, my nails done, and all that kind of stuff. I was quite a girly girl, but now everything's a bit of an effort, and I'm in sweats, and do you know what I mean? It's all a bit comfy and baggy and sort of blurring in the background type,
And I suppose it's just how you feel in the moment and what you want to do. I mean, I've seen some pictures of you looking absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I wasn't. My sister's friend was diagnosed with breast cancer just after I was. And I remember my sister going on about how she was so freaked out about losing her hair. And I was like, it's only hair. You're going to live, you're going to have this treatment, your hair will go. And I was thinking, it's only, well, what's wrong with you? Because all my first 2 lines of treatment, my hair thinned, but I didn't lose it. This last line of treatment, it all went. And I was quite shocked at my reaction. And it wasn't that, I don't look feminine or female or whatever like that. For me, it was, I now look sick. and I could like had a mask, so I could pretend I was just like me, you know. I just, you know, hair was a little bit thin, but I had short hair anyway, so it didn't matter. But now it was like, oh, she looks like a sick person now. And that's what I struggled with. And it wasn't like I haven't got any hair, you know, the shape of my head's all right, it's not bad. But it was just like, you can't pretend to a stranger, people look at you and go, oh yeah, you know, that kind of thing. So that was the biggest thing for me. It wasn't lack of hair, it was just, I now identified to other people as someone that was ill. And I didn't like that. I didn't want people to think, oh, poor lady, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, can I ask you about friends? Has having lung cancer impacted your friendships? And do you have any examples of how lung cancer has affected your social life?
Well, obviously, and again, it's not lung cancer, it's the treatment. It's the chemo. Chemo whacks me out and makes me tired. And especially when you're in treatment. I mean, I'm not at the moment. I've just got no energy, lethargic, and physically, I'm just too tired to do stuff. I've been out of treatment for about 6 weeks now, and I've had 2 events come up, and I just didn't want to go. One, I didn't want to have to make small talk. One was where it was a wedding reception for someone that I'd worked with, so there was going to be people from work where I used to work, like 6 years ago, that I hadn't seen, and there would have to do the conversation, which I didn't want to do. I think if I'm going out to enjoy myself, I don't want to talk about this, but that's all people ask you. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, you know, and stuff like that. So that one I didn't go to because of that. And then other times it's like I just don't feel good. And the thought of having to stand and try and be chatty and you know, for a night, I thought I couldn't last an hour probably. So it's the ability not to be, you know, to last an evening. Most nights I'm in bed by 10, sound asleep, you know. I just don't have any, and it is like you feel like a bit of a little old lady sometimes. But the chemo has totally wrecked my knees, and my knees are arthritic. So it's standing and walking upstairs and things like that. It's all these things I'm enduring, and then nothing to do with the cancer. It's just the treatment. And like with friendship things, you know, social media, you get lots of messages and bits and stuff like that. And there's been a couple of close friends that seem to have disappeared off a little bit, and people that I weren't so close with are checking in with me and saying, let's meet, let's go for a chat, let's go for a drink, coffee, stuff like that. So you do get that, and I've heard things like this before. The you know, the friends that you think you're close to for have been for a while, they're like, oh, you're okay, right, okay, boom, and then they're gone. And people that, you know, like some people that I went to school with, they're checking in on me all the time. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, leave me alone. I haven't got anything to say. You know, bless them. And it's weird how things change. But I do get people don't know what to say. They don't want to feel sorry for you and stuff like that. So it's a weird thing. Like, I suppose I'm being very insular at the moment. It's mainly family and 1 or 2 friends. And the rest of the time, I'm you know, I'm just going to stay in and chill.
And I know you are a photographer and you're really proud of your work, and you've been honoured for your work with your charity work and your
Yes.
photography, haven't you? So do you have any stories that you can share about the ways in which lung cancer or the treatment that you've been through has impacted on your career and your work life?
Yeah, well, so I used to do a fair bit of wedding photography, not a huge amount because it wears you out and it can bring, you know, it takes over your life. I've not been able to do any wedding photography because I can't commit to a booking next year, 18 months, 2 years. Some brides like to book. So I haven't been able to do that, which is quite sad because I like a few because it's a happy day. It's a lovely day. It's a lot of work, but I you know, I love seeing people in love, you know, and I think that's brilliant. But so I can't do that. And where I mentioned about not doing things I don't want to do, I would do sometimes family photography that was just really not inspiring or stuff, but money paying the bills. So I would do those. Now, no, I don't do any at all. at the moment, all I'm really doing is old clients. So someone that gets in touch and they know, so I don't have to explain anything. I don't have to say, well, we can book this date, but I might have to reschedule or whatever. So they'll know, so it's much easier on that. It's very, very small amount. I mean, I probably only do maybe one, I might even do one job a month. When I'm full in treatment, I don't take any. But yeah, it's definitely a lot less. The charity work was non-existent because when I was unwell. But now I've started up and I've been doing quite a few hospital sessions in the last sort of 2 months. I've done some more, and all like the hospitals, I told them before about my diagnosis and stuff like that, so they don't say anything too much. You know, they don't question me. They know, and they just say, "How are you? You okay? Good, lovely to see you." You know, and that's it. So I'm only really working in circumstances where I don't have to explain. If you're a woman and you tell someone that you have cancer, everyone assumes it's breast cancer. And everyone does everything, oh, support with breast. And I kept thinking, that's really nice that you want to help and support, but breast cancer has nothing to do with me. They're like, oh, I'm going to go and do this. And I'm like, oh, okay, but it's nothing to do with what I have. So it's like, I wish people would think, yeah, women get other cancers other than breast cancer. That's a big thing that I'm quite snappy about almost, is that, like, you know, there are other cancers. You know, you can get another cancer. And then the other one is, if you get lung cancer, you smoke or smoked. And that really annoys me, because no, that's not true at all. But it's almost like, oh, lung cancer, and then it's like, self-inflicted, you know, that kind of the look, and that sort of irritates me. Oh, and then the other thing is coughing in public and people going. It's like, and I would never do it. I would never say it, but it's all. I'm tempted to say it's okay. It's not catching. You're not going to catch it. You know, that kind of thing where they sort of physically lean, or they're like this. You know, I don't cough everywhere, but I can't help it. I do cough. You know, that kind of thing. But you know, I don't want to walk around with wearing a badge saying, oh, I've got lung cancer. You know, but it's just people's mentality sometimes can be a little bit frustrating.
So finally, I'd like to ask you about your emotional well-being, and can you share with me ways in which your mental health has been impacted by living with lung cancer and the treatment that you receive?
I think the main thing is just, I guess, feeling a little bit down. I don't consider myself anyone to have had any sort of mental health issues or suffered in that sort of way. I was always like very direct, getting on with it, outgoing, confident person. I've got to a stage where it's like I can't be bothered attitude, and that's not like me. And it's awful, but when you think, when did I last have a shower? Because I've not been bothered, and because I don't wear makeup, I don't do it. It's that sort of in that funk. So it's obviously something to do with my mental health, but I'm not quite sure what's going on. But it's just not wanting to do anything, just wanting to, and which is really weird, because when I was first diagnosed, it was every day I kept thinking I must do stuff. I can't waste a day. You know, it's like if I didn't see my son one day, it's like I wasted a day not seeing him. I've not seen him today. You know, and I was all like, I've got to do stuff, got to be fit everything in, active and stuff. And then it's got to a point where I don't want to do anything. And I'm just laying on the sofa and I'm like, do I feel tired and exhausted, or is it just I just can't be bothered to do anything? You know, it's judging, am I really whacked out, or am I can't be bothered? You know, and that was really strange. That was really strange. So it was a case of, right, okay, you will get up and you will get dressed and you will have a shower and get dressed. And then, because there's not much going on makeup-wise, you will draw eyebrows on. And that was my thing. So at least if I drew my eyebrows on, I'd made an effort, you know. So it's, I guess it's not allowing yourself. And it's easier said than done. Some days are worse than others. But yeah, it was just, I think for me, it was just, hang on, recognising that this isn't me. And I'm not going to let the lung cancer or whatever take that away from me, be it that I can't do everything that I want to do and I don't look how I want to look. But, you know, as long as I've got eyebrows on, then I'm fine. You know, I can do this.
So Cheryl, what's the one thing about your condition that you try and hide from your loved ones, your family or your friends?
I don't know. I suppose not thinking the end. Sorry. It's like I do have to be strong for them, but there are times when I'm on my own that I can sort of let go and think about that sort of stuff. But I try to hold it in as much as possible. Yeah.